I'm going to call the Planning and Economic Development Committee meeting to order. First item is a roll call, please.
Mrs. Root?
Here.
Mr. Barnes?
Present.
Mr. Curran?
Here.
Mr. Sear?
Here.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Here.
Mr. Healy?
Here.
Mr. Rickey?
Here.
Mrs. Ricketts-Swales?
Here.
Mr. Stockin? Here. 8 present.
Okay. The next item is the approval of the May 18th minutes, and I'll entertain a motion for approval for that.
Curran moves.
Hanchett seconds.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, I ask for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carried. The next item is the minutes for May 25th. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Ricketts-Swales.
All right, Barnes seconds it. Any further discussion? If not, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda is Rita Sobek Lynch, Employment and Training Director, and she has given us her monthly report. And Rita, I'll let you give us some highlights if you'd like.
Good afternoon. Our front door traffic is increasing. We have a lot of people coming in that are looking for work. Last week we held a job fair at the library in Wellsville, and we had 30 businesses present with over 300 open positions in Allegheny County. And so 81 job seekers actually signed in. I'm not sure how many were there, but it was pretty busy for most of the day. So we have an email sent out to all the people that participated in, and they can tell us how many people they interviewed or how many new hires they had. That would be very helpful. So that was very well attended. Right now, we're really busy with our summer youth employment program. In the report, it shows we had over 125 applications, and so we have to go through and determine eligibility for everybody and then make sure all the paperwork is present. Then the physicals all have to go to Heather Beto for approval, and then they're eligible for work. So now we're placing 65 youth throughout the county. I don't have all the exact locations just yet. We're still juggling who's going where, but so we're very excited to start the program. And we're hoping to work from 15 hours a week to 28 hours a week for 6 to 8 weeks this summer.
Mr. Healy?
Yes, read it. Now, the job fair, that included both private and public sector?
Yes.
Employers, potential employers, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. Rita, I haven't been on the Workforce Investment Board since last year. How is the funding coming through now? Is it light? Is it just steady? Or where are we at with the funding for that?
We got a 13% increase this year in adult and dislocated worker funding.
Good.
Rita, I just had a question about the work or the career fair you had. That was sponsored by the library?
They were our host.
Okay. Could you, if another library was willing to do that, or one of the colleges, would you do another one maybe in the fall, or?
Yeah, we're planning to do one in the fall, and so depending on where anyone would like us to host it, if a library asks, we would certainly go there.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions for Rita? Rita, do you have anything else you want on?
Our WIOA year ends on the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. That funding ends on June 30th, so I'll have a full report in July on that.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, next up is Keir Durham, Planning Director. He gave us a monthly report, and he has some requests for us here today. So, Keir, I'll let you make some comments on your report, and then we'll go on to the requests.
Sure. I just want to remind everybody the consolidated funding applications are due at the end of July. If you have projects that your communities are looking to get funded, this is probably the soonest application round that's coming up. And if you have questions, you can give us a call. The Empire State Development folks were down on last Friday. We had a few legislators that came to that session, and they would be happy to work with you. We also have submitted the second grant application for the hazard mitigation plan update, and during that process, we were told that we should not start any of our work beyond what we've already done until we get notice. So that has put us off temporarily to moving forward with our stakeholder meetings that we had previously expected to start this week. So that was a bit of a speed bump for us. I do have some resolutions, referrals I need done. In the development budget line, we need to do some transfers. We're going to use the money that's in the conference line item to fund some of these other line items that are a little short. You have any questions on that?
Okay. Before we go there, does anyone have any more questions with Kier about or on his monthly report before we move on to the requests? We're all good? Okay, all right. So the first one is a resolution for transfer of funds.
In the Office of Development budget lines.
And it's a $20,000 transfer, moving it from conference expenses into office supplies. Is that what I'm seeing?
Office, fees, and contractual, which is the marketing line.
Healy will move that.
Okay, do we have a second?
Curran, second.
Okay, any further discussion on this? If not, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion's carried.
The second one is the transfer in the tourism accounts. As I had noted early in the year, we had not received as much money from the I Love New York program, and we had budgeted an amount and to do the match that we had hoped. And since we did not get that, right now that money is sort of sitting in limbo. We could utilize that for non-matching type program work if it was shifted over. So that's what that one's about.
And so we're talking about $19,750 to shift over into a tourism non-matching account, correct?
From the match to the non-match.
Hanchett moves.
Okay, do we have a second?
Ricketts Swales.
Okay, any further discussion on this?
Madam Chairwoman,
Yes?
thanks. Just a question for Terry. This is kosher, right? All we're obligated to do for the I Love New York is match their revenue, right? So it doesn't matter that we obligated it before, it's fine to pull out now?
Only our local money. So it's just moving our local share that we thought if they gave us $69,000, we had to have $69,000. They didn't, so we have this extra.
Is it still going to be utilized for tourism?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's still in there.
And I believe the committee actually has the authority to approve these, and a resolution isn't required for the last two transactions. So we can just send something to the treasurer's office letting them know that it received committee approval.
Okay, so we have the motions and the seconds and the questions. Do we have any further questions? If not, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carried.
Next one I have is the person I had intended to hire and had started briefly for an office aide position didn't work out. And so my intern position is reopened, and it's a existing position that was in the budget. It's full-time and temporary for the rest for the year. So that's a request to fill.
Do we have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Barnes seconds it. Any further discussion?
Kara, what is a permanent temporary position? I guess I didn't follow
It's an
you.
existing position that hasn't gone away, but it's a temporary just for this year because that's what's budgeted.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So this position just goes away after next year, or what?
I put it in the budget each year.
Oh.
And if it makes it through the budget process, then we try to fill it for
Okay.
an internship each year. If it doesn't make it through the budget process, then I won't find anybody.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so if there's not any other questions, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carried.
The last item that I sent you an email about is sort of a formality. Southern Tier West has the comprehensive economic development strategy that they put together for the U.S. EDA, Economic Development Administration. And each year around this time, this group officially nominates 2 priority projects that would be fundable via EDA funds. And so the same 2 projects as last year. One is the Crossroads infrastructure projects, and the other would be the Alfred Elmond sewer projects. And I can send you more detail on it. Really, every county does this differently. This is just the process that Allegheny County set up decades ago. So the Planning and Economic Development Committee officially makes that decision as to what the 2 top priorities are. And if 5 months from now we realize that there's a different project that's the priority, this group can just change that. So it's not a forever for a whole year thing.
Is there
I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
For the, what is it, the Alfred Elman sewer system, how long has that been a priority, and is there reasons why I'm sure there's reasons why it's not moving forward, or what the holdup is?
Well, it's got a lot of moving parts.
Okay.
It's 4 municipalities have to agree on something, and they keep changing folks on the board, so that makes it interesting. But it's approximately a $10.5 million project now. It includes running a collection line all the way from the Alfred sewer plant down along 244, collectors up around some of the subdivisions down through the village of Elmond, pick up the entire village, and then send all that back to the sewer plant in Alfred. It would have a huge impact. Alfred Elmond Central School is currently on a septic system that sits under their fields. And the businesses along in Alfred Station are all on septics, so there's challenges throughout that area due to this.
Is the sewer plant upgraded enough to handle it, or does there need?
That is
there
our
work?
understanding, that it has enough capacity.
Okay.
Do you have a dollar figure for was it the Crossroads project?
What was your last? $7.5 million. Yes.
Okay.
That question, but maybe it's more for Mr. Clark, but since it was brought up, can that funding also be used for to purchase more property?
EDA typically knows they want to do infrastructure. They would help on the roads, the sewer, and the water. I mean, that's the kind of project they would like. Might be able to talk into property acquisition, but it's unlikely. And they typically in the range of, last time we got something from the colleges, $2 million. Usually it's into maybe 3 years, pushing it $1 million.
And they like to have it for infrastructure, is what I heard you say, not for sale of our property.
That's their typical MO. I mean, I've talked to their people quite a bit over the last years, and if it's an infrastructure project, it's selling right through.
Yeah, Craig.
Yes, if it's an infrastructure project, it'll sail right through. We had one that combined infrastructure as well as some other things, and I had to go down to actually Philadelphia and sell them on it, and they did agree to it, but it wasn't an easy process, so it's possible. But the infrastructure projects go right through.
Okay, but if we purchase additional property down there, then we could use that money for infrastructure.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. So any further discussion on these 2 items for CURE to submit to Southern Tier West? Do we have a motion? All right, so we need a motion so CURE can submit these 2?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All right, who moved it?
Adam?
Adam, all right, it's here.
I will second it. If no,
Mr. Healy?
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you, Kier.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So next up, we have Craig Clark, Economic Developer. Development and Industrial Development Agency. You have your monthly report. You sent it to us. Is there something you want to highlight? And we do have a special
I'll
guest
highlight
here.
a few things, and I want to turn
Yep.
most of my time over to our guest.
And do they have some slides that you want?
Brenda has them.
Brenda already has them? Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, the EDA, I've already been talking to Senator Schumer's staff about the EDA funds, a couple different ways we can get some funds for the Crossroads, and one would be through the EDA. And I know they supported us last time, so I know that'll be an easy lift. Once we get the pre-engineering done, we'll be ready to put an application in. We can't do that. One of the requirements is they're going to have at least pre-engineering done because they want that submitted with the actual documentation. So we're getting close.
Okay.
I think I tried to highlight things. I want to go fairly quick because we do have a guest. The Crossroads project, as I just mentioned, we're getting close. We've got most of the pre-engineering done. They'll be looking at that and doing a little bit of layout adjustment if they have to. There'll be something ready to share with IDA as well as the board here in the near future on that, and that'll allow us, like I said, to put in a grant applications too. Yes.
Are we looking at a on-site wastewater facility, or are we looking at
We've been asked to look at both, and we are looking at both.
okay, so you are looking at both?
Yeah, we're looking at both options to see
Very
which is
good.
the
Thank you.
most productive as far as use of money, yes. So that'll be part of the actual presentation, correct. Mike?
And on that same note, we've been in communication with the surrounding municipalities on that also to look at it from a comprehensive standpoint.
Once we get something finished, we're almost ready to present something. We wanted to wait until we had at least a draft. In other words, we had a real rough draft, but now we know what might look like. We'll be presenting that, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Because it's very important to make sure Amity is involved as well as Friendship. So, because there's implications on both communities.
Well, I think the more communication always the
Yes.
better.
No, I know.
Thank you.
Yep. As far as the Crossroads, the other thing that last time I talked to this group, we did ask a question about out at the Crossroads, you know, how much potential sales tax is already coming from the travel center. I finally talked to them this morning. It's a $10 million operation, so therefore it'd be about $450,000 annually that would be coming back to the county. So that's a pretty good payback, as we discussed. And they were fine with sharing that. I did talk to Ken about that. Arbos, we won't talk much about them because they're going to be doing a full presentation here in just a minute, unless you have a question. We've been working with them for about 4 years on 2 different projects, the ARC, 2 different ARC grants, as well as now with the financial assistance package through the IDA. And they'll tell you all the good things they're doing, which is pretty amazing. Solar projects, we have another one that's getting ready to close in Independence. They've approved it, the IDA's approved it. We have started talking, as we mentioned before, with the town of Alfred and as well as the developer on the 100 megawatt. And at the last IDA board meeting, we moved forward the smaller Alfred project, the 5 megawatt one. So we'll be holding a public hearing in the near future on that. We are still working on the CBDG CARES grant for small businesses. We need to have a list of businesses, which we're collecting this week, that may be interested. And that does not mean that that's the list that will get the money. We just have to have a list of businesses that may be interested. And then the last thing, which is really important, is we continue to work with LC Whitford as well as the company that'll be moving into the Kmart Plaza. That should be announced in the near future. They're putting together a press release, and I sent some information to them that today. And they'll have a financial application into the IDA at the next July meeting.
Okay.
It'll be great news for the community and the county. Do you have any questions on my report?
Going back to the Crossroads area, if either the county or the IDA had owned 200 acres down there at that intersection, would we have lost the Empire Cheese facility.
If we had actually had the acreage,
Yes,
it still would have been a struggle because of the power. We probably would not have lost the project. You're correct.
okay.
I mean, there was the two things. One, the property and the power. Unfortunately, when they had two things, they weren't willing to wait any longer. They should have, but because we had the property under control. But
And is it your opinion, I know you're a learned, well-traveled man, is it your opinion that that's the best intersection on all of 86, Interstate 86?
I think in the county, it's probably one of the best because it's in the middle of the county, and obviously there is some land. Most of the interstates that we have, I-86, does not have that kind of flat land available. That's correct.
Right. So, and that includes outside of Allegheny County also?
For quite a ways, actually.
Yes, thank you.
It's either developed or totally undeveloped, which is not flat, and that's why it's not developed.
Thank you.
Yeah. With that, I'll introduce Greg Moscato, and he can tell you what's going on at Arvos Lundstrom.
Thanks, Craig. Madam Chairman, on behalf of the whole board, I'd like to welcome Mr. Yowell and Mr. Moscato. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate what you all are doing up there.
Great. Thank you very much. So just an introduction. My position with the company is the Vice President and Chief Human Resource Officer, and Jeff is one of my colleagues who is the Director of Manufacturing Technologies. Jeff is spearheading the entire capital expenditure project, and he'll talk a little bit about that when we get to that particular slide. So again, it's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be in a growth mode so that we add new jobs to the area and livelihoods and so forth. It's a very exciting time for us. We have a cliche at work that says we've gone through the last 100 years of being around, and next year we celebrate our 100-year anniversary. And what we're going through now is going to be setting the company up for the next 100 years. So that's something that we're very focused on and very committed to Allegheny County. With that said, we're going to have a little slide presentation, but I want to kind of cheat and go right to the end and talk about the results. The results at this year, we are on a quest to hire 60-plus people. And we've already started that recruitment campaign. We've been working quite a bit with the Department of Labor and many government agencies, which have been great to help us in that quest. These positions are split between manufacturing positions and office positions or administrative. On the manufacturing side, the biggest position description we're hiring for is welders. So I'd like to take this opportunity. If anyone knows any welders, we would really welcome them coming and applying to us. We've opened up our sourcing focus by tapping into the BOCES in the area, going all the way from Olean and Ellicottville and Belmont and so forth. So we've really tried to tap into that, as well as the colleges between Alfred State College and also JCC and so forth. We've tried to tap into that. We're very happy to say that we're not only hiring full-time jobs, but we've also gone to the point of hiring part-time jobs with college students. And right now, our hiring, we're at 19 people we've hired, mixed between people from the street as well as people from the colleges and BOCES. So we're proud of that, but I've got another 40-plus positions to go. So that will be hiring between now and October of this year. So things are definitely moving in the right path. We're moving on to next year, where we have another 60 to 100 positions that we'll be hiring next year. Again, a lot of them on the manufacturing side. These jobs are jobs that make, with overtime, between $40,000 and $70,000, so they're good living jobs, and we're excited about that. What we've done is as you know, our business has been focused on the coal industry, and our mainstay for the last 100 years has been air preheaters. This is actually a green product that is affiliated with the coal industry. But as you know, there's a war on coal, and that's somewhat going downhill. And so we've decided we're still maintaining our core products, which is our air preheaters, because the aftermarket is still real on that. But we've branched off, and we're going into the renewable wind, and that's offshore wind, which is down the eastern coast of the United States, out on the, before the continental drop-off. We've got, they'll be putting over 2,000 windmills. So each state has a piece of ocean property that they'll putting windmills 15 miles off the shoreline. And what we've done, we're a heavy fabrication steel company. So we are actually making structures that will support and hold the windmills. There's a variety of other products that we'll be doing, and Jeff will talk a little bit about those. But that's one major product that we've created. We've been working on this for over 2 years now. Another product is CO2 capture, and that is a product that we've partnered with a company in Canada, and we have several units out there right now that are working, and we have a good future in that as well. And Jeff will talk a bit about the technology piece of those. But these new products are affiliated with all these projects going off the coast. And the ones that we've got so far are called the Rhode Island, which is called South Fork and Revolution, and also New York called Sunrise. There is other ones that we're working on with other states, but we're hoping this is going to be a 20-plus year run. So that brings a lot to the county, which we're pleased about. So maybe now we could take a look at the presentation, and we could talk about a few of the slides in that. My eyes aren't that good, but there you go. Okay. So if we go to the next slide. Thank you. This just talks a little bit about our proud past and our bright future. Many of the things that I did on the intro, we've been around for the 100 years that we talked about, celebrating next year. We are committed to the area. This talks a little bit about our product and our portfolio and the future, as I mentioned. If we move to the next slide, this is an example and a good picture of what we're going to be building. And with this, I'm going to turn over to Mr. Jeff Yowell.
Okay, thank you. What we're going to build essentially are the offshore windmills you see on the right. They're monopile style. They anchor down into the bed of the ocean, and you're looking at the very bottom portion. 300 feet above this will be the windmill itself. Obviously, being inland as we are, we're going to make all the structures for that piece of equipment that we could physically make and ship. So our goal is a massive internal structure that goes in that controls all the electronics and the systems, the doors, ladders, railings. And one of the big pieces you don't see is an anode cage, which is a rust prohibitive structure that's under the water, which is quite large. All of which we've designed and worked with the developer to rebuild and re-engineer so that we could make it in New York, where we are here. These will all then, our parts will then go to a port, be it in Albany or New York or New Jersey, where they're reassembled into their full scale and met up with their monopiles, the rest of the nacelle, the blades and such forth, and they go off into the ocean to get installed. So we've peeled off a piece of this industry and redesigned it so that we can build it here in our local area.
Next slide.
Next slide. Okay, this is a piece of the CO2 capture system. And what we've done is we've taken our core product, which is a massive heat exchanger, and we've worked with a coal or CO2 gas captured company that makes the media that captures CO2 out of air, at flue gas in this case. So they're using our structure and our technology as a heat exchanger and the physical parts with their media, which does the CO2 capture. And then this would be re-injected down hole for gas or oil refineries. 2 of these facilities are currently in operation. There's one in Saskatchewan, Canada, which has been in operation under heavy oil, for heavy oil industry for about 2 years. And one in Bakersfield, California, which was just installed about a month ago. And so we have 2 of those. The second one's for Chevron. So we're very pleased to have these in. This is actually a prototype. Just to give you an example, that's roughly 35 feet tall, and it's about 25 feet in diameter. It's quite large. You can see the people standing above it. And this is a prototype. When we get to the full-scale model, it'll be almost 10 times that size. So these are prototypes that are proving the technology, proving our rotor and our structure works with their media and their technology to capture the CO2 out of a flue gas stream. So, next slide.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the capital expenditure. Earlier, I talked about the impact on people. And so besides creating jobs, we're also investing in our facility in machinery and structures and so forth along those lines. All of this could not have been done without the support of government agencies and also the IDA. We've worked quite a bit with Craig and his team that has helped us with an ARC loan, grant, the Appalachian Regional Commission, in addition to working with Alfred State as well. So that has supported us, and that's important. We've also worked with the Empire State Development Group, and they've helped us with some finances as well. Again, this is all money going into our facility, investing in the structures we have, in the machinery and so forth, and also adding people and jobs. I would like to talk a little bit, or have Jeff talk a little bit about the CapEx that we're investing, so I'll turn back to him.
So what we have targeted is a $14 million overall project for both offshore wind and CO2. Our core product was put into a power plant. Nobody really cares too much about that paint job. We didn't really ever learn to paint. We have about a $6 million investment going into learning to paint and building a facility to do that. So as you can imagine, offshore wind has a very intensive paint system. It's got to live in the ocean for 25 years without any corrosion. That's a big challenge for us, so we're putting together a massive CapEx. It's underway now. We have contractors putting in foundations, building additions, as well as equipment is starting to show up for that. We anticipate having a coating system operational by October. As we move to the next several pieces of the offshore wind turbines and the systems, we'll be adding more and more CapExes to total up to roughly $14 million. That would include mostly equipment for structural cutting, things like that, things that branch us off of the coal industry and our core heat exchanging product line and into these other types of products. So we have quite a good array of growth and building going on right now, and it will continue throughout the next year.
So when you refer to CapEx, are you referring to capital expenditures?
Oh, yes.
Okay, I just...
Sorry.
No, sorry. So I have another question. You were talking about the shipping of the bases for the windmills. Is that over the road or by rail?
It's all over the road.
All over
So,
the road.
And we're not doing the base, we're doing parts of
Right.
the windmill, so.
Okay. So would you say that there's some spin down, or I don't even know what the proper terminology is, from your product shipping out of here? There's other businesses in Allegheny County who are going to perhaps profit from some of this shipping that are.
Oh, absolutely. Our core shipping facility is STX, so.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
And I hear they're building a brand-new landing facility to, I
are.
guess, stage these. So they're also making an investment in their business here as a result of your business.
Their land investment is for land windmills. They won't add to their facility for our product, but we will more than likely use them. That the shipping contractor has not been finalized, but they are a key player in that shipping system. And yes, it's a multi-million-dollar industry shipping this thing. So
I have one more question, and Gary, I'm sorry. Your CO2 capture, is that taken off from your old Youngstrom?
yeah, it is.
And just putting different media in it?
Essentially, yes.
Okay.
There's a few more nuances. CO2 capture is very tricky. Our heat exchangers are metal plates.
Right.
They're pretty rugged.
Right.
CO2 capture media is more like tissue paper. So we had a whole lot to learn about how to deal with tissue paper where we usually put steel. So it has been challenging, but over the last 2.5 years, we've designed quite a bit of different inventions to make this work.
So did you have a lot of engineering, re-engineering going on to make this
Absolutely.
happen?
There are 2 departments that spend pretty much their full time dealing with that.
Thank
so.
you. Gary?
I was interested in the fact that you said that all the transportation is going to be trucking. Did you look at, pardon me, did you look at railroad?
We did investigate railroad. However, the port in which we have to go to assemble oftentimes is not selected by us. We're obviously the smaller parts of these things. It's selected by what's available in the space. The ones that we currently have do not have rail access to those ports. Therefore, that sort of eliminated us. Our rail access was upgraded in 2007. However, it has not been used since 2000. I'm sorry, it has been upgraded, in 2003. It hasn't been used since 2007. So I have the ability to ship by rail. However, I've yet to have a customer request it.
Thank you.
Mr. Yall, it's been my experience, the rail's pretty cheap, but it's very expensive getting it to the rail and off the rail and hiring cranes and logistics. Just to kind of iterate on that a little bit.
Yeah, and lead time on rail shipments is difficult. They don't deliver like a truck does the day they expect it there. These things have a very tight window, as you can imagine. We have to hit a ship to go out to sea to get installed, so.
Mr. Healy?
It may not be your end part of the project, but perhaps you know the answer to this. How's that energy created by these windmills get to the end user, to market?
It's my understanding, and I'm not the expert for sure, is they are plumbing. Most of these windmills will go to a substation that is out to sea. From the substation, it then goes to an existing power plant that is somewhere onshore and connects into the high voltage, high supply lines to those areas. Then it uses the existing distribution system. So we essentially, the windmills essentially power an existing power plant with additional capacity.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Hi. So let's say that I am a person who is a welder and I'm looking for a job with you folks. A lot of people don't know that it's not just that I'm a welder, but that I have to go through a somewhat employment testing, whatever. Yes. And I'm assuming that you go through Rita's office maybe, but can you explain to everyone what it is that a welder needs before they come or when they come to you? What are the do they have to take the tape? This is my background. Sure. So do they have to have a welding test? Which welding test do you use?
Sure. So first of all, one of the big things we're looking for is qualifications and people who have actually welded before. That's one piece. However, we decided to branch into the education group, the BOCES group, the Alfred State, the JCC, and even though they don't have actual experience in welding in a job, they're getting educated in that through schooling. We will teach them, and we will take them to the next step as far as their education to weld our products. We have very high-end welding. This isn't just like spot welding with a robot or anything like that, but it's actually doing all different types of welding. We will teach them our particular type of welding that we need them to do. But as long as they're interested in the job, they want to work hard, they show up to work every day, they'll have a great career with us. Our average tenure is 20 years. Our average age in our facility is 50 years old. So we're looking for the next generation of people to come in and help us. But if you have welding experience, we want you.
So if I was a young person going through BOCES and I graduate with a 2-year from one of the BOCES centers, what would I do next? What would I do to come work for you? What would you look to see if I had passed like the New York State welding test? What other, are there any tests, or is it just recommendation from the teacher?
We give them a weld test.
Okay.
That weld test takes 2 to 4 hours.
Yep.
They will come in and they will actually weld pieces of metal together. That has to be analyzed, tested. There's a bend test we give them and so forth. We look for people to pass that. However, if they don't pass but yet they show good promise, then we will kick in and train them and give them an internal course to bring them up to speed.
Are there any other, like a TABE test or any other testing that's done?
No.
Okay.
It's the interview and the weld test.
Okay, perfect.
And so interview speaks a lot when
Sure.
you talk with people. So that helps. Some people make it through, some don't. We've had good success so far. Right now we have a drumbeat going, as we say, that every Monday we interview 7 people. We've been doing that now for 2 months. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we give them the weld test. And then after that, we start doing the hiring. This last weekend, we hired 6 people that added to our group. So now we're starting to mature in the process, and we're excited about that. So we're actively recruiting. You just simply need to come down, fill out an application, or call us, and we'll email one to you.
And do you work with the instructors, letting them know kind of what's on your weld test so that the students are
Absolutely.
prepared?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We've
Great.
actually provided our weld test
Yeah.
to the teachers to start
Sure.
teaching the kids how to do. and
Thank
the
you.
younger people.
Thank you.
And we also work on, there's an adult ed course too that we tapped into, and I recall there was one person recently who applied to us from there, and that's great as well. And young, old, multinational, doesn't matter. Come to us and apply to us. We're very happy. There is. There is.
Can they also go to your website and find a link to,
Yes, they can also find a link through there.
would that be, and what would that website be? Is it Arvos?
It's Lungstrom.
Youngstrom?
Lungstrom.com.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
And our main recruiter, her name is Linda Bizek, and she's the main contact person.
Mr. Fanton?
Yeah, this is exciting. I go back a long ways, and I remember back in '63, I went to work for Air Preheater at that time, and they were actually doing the college classes that they would pick up the cost for as long as you passed the course. And so it's really kind of exciting for me to see us going back to where a company has taken on responsibility to educate their employees.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments anyone has for the gentlemen while they're here?
I'll do a quick one.
Okay.
Out of curiosity, how many employees do you have now?
210.
Do you guys, any chance you guys track whether or not they're county residents, where they live?
We do. We do. And I think there's a majority are, but we do have, I think, 30 to 30 people right now, somewhere in the area, that are from Pennsylvania.
Uh-huh.
But most are from this county.
We have trouble in our direction with the colleges that I would guess, Craig, you probably know, a majority of the employees for the colleges live in Steuben County. And that's not desirable. Or Livingston, yeah. That's not desirable for us. Since you're here and you're an HR person, any way to pick your brain? What are some ideas for retention? Not just bringing in jobs, but retaining new employees in the county.
We could get together for a couple hours on that topic. It's a good topic. Previously, I worked with. Well, we were previously owned by Alstom prior to. We were sold in August of 2014. But prior to that, I actually worked down in the Alstom Transportation Group down in Steuben County. And it's interesting because there it was 500 when I started, and 4.5 years later we went up to 1,200. So there's definitely a way to recruit people, and I was recruiting people in from everywhere. I recruited I remember a guy from California to come and work for us. So there's a lot of different things you can do to bring people into the county and recruit them. And right now, our focus has really been in the county. We've had a lot of interest, ironically, from Elmira. We had a lot of applications from Elmira, which haven't been able to figure out why yet, but we need to look into that more. We will be doing strategic recruiting of Buffalo and Rochester, trying to pull people from there. So this year, I'm 100% confident we will meet our 60 people that we need to get. Next year is going to be a little bigger of a challenge because I think we would have pulled a lot of people out of the workforce. We've gone to a job fair recently at Dresser Rand. I just got done hiring 3 top executives out of Dresser Rand to come work for us. And those people I was working on for about a year to bring them down. So it's a great question. There's 1,000,001 things you can do to not only recruit people, but also retain people. And that's always a challenge. Our turnover is somewhere between 1% and 2% on a voluntary basis. So typically when people start with us, they don't leave us. They retire with us, which is, I'm very proud to say, I've never seen a company in my career that has that low of a turnover ratio. And so it's good to be part of that. So, sure.
Any other questions or comments for the gentlemen while they're here? If not, I'm going to thank you both for coming in. This has been very enlightening. It's very exciting, and it's good to hear some of this good news and what's going on in your neck of the woods.
Great. Well, thanks for having us. We appreciate it. Thank you.
So the next item is, do we have any old business for today? Do we have any new business for today? Do we have anything for the good of the order today? If not, I'll ask for a resolution to adjourn. Mr. Healy makes it, Mr. Barnes seconds it. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you, and thank you.